Shin splints can be one of the scariest injuries for runners to go through because you just feel like they're never going to go away. That's at least how I felt. And also, the pain is really bad. I almost thought, do I have a stress fracture? In both of my shin bones, I really felt like a lot of pain. But the difference was that when I started to run, it was really painful. But then as I continued to run, it got less painful. So if you're going through that, it's likely not a stress fracture. Stress fracture wouldn't get better running through it. So it was definitely shin splints or medial tibial stress syndrome. So the pain kind of on the inside of that shin bone, and the pain had come out of nowhere. I was doing a build for the Chicago Marathon, and I was running my strongest, running my longest, my most amount of volume. Felt the best I've ever felt, and these shin splints popped up out of nowhere. So today I want to talk to you guys about what I did about those shin splints and how I did run the Chicago Marathon. Not very well for me, not one of my better times, and what I've found that has worked best for me to keep those shin splints away and developed me into a stronger runner that has prevented shin splints from happening again. So let's talk about what I did. So again, I was about 2 or 3 weeks out from the Chicago Marathon when these shin splints just hit me like a wall. I was doing my hardest efforts. I was increasing my volume, obviously too much, but again, it felt like I had broken shin bones. It was very painful. Came up out of nowhere. I thought because I was running and it would get better that I can continue to do these long, harder efforts, and that just led to more and more pain until I was in panic mode about 3 weeks out. What do I do about this? So I did everything from soft tissue, massaging my calves. I did red light therapy. My dad's a veterinarian. He had a red light that he used on the dogs and animals there, and I tried that. Foam rolling, I foam rolled the calves. Strength training, I just did a little bit more strength training. I did swimming. I got in the pool. I did swimming and workouts in the pool just to kind of supplement for not running quite as much, preventing that harder impact. And while I do think these things helped, these different interventions, they did help, and they got me to run 3:01 in Chicago. I found that what you can do to prevent shin splints in the first place is ideally what I would recommend, and what I do now to prevent shin splints from happening again. So I'm a physical therapy student. I'm graduating in about 5 or 6 months. We're in December of 2025 right now. I'll graduate in May of 2026. So I want to kind of talk to you guys about what I've learned in PT school, as well as I've been running for over 6 years now, marathons, that is. So I want to kind of combine the two experiences and tell you guys what I've used to, the two things that are really going to help you to prevent shin splints from occurring in the first place. So, number one, what you want to do is simulate the pounding that you're going to be taking while you're running. So the pounding of the legs, right? And you're going to do this through plyometric training. So what do I mean by that? Running is a sport of single leg hopping. So you're bounding from one leg onto the other leg, hopping forward, taking a lot of impact once your foot hits the ground, and then springing off, to kind of stride it a little bit forward and kind of push off, embrace the impact, and then push off again. So you want to implement this in your training, and this is something that I was not doing. I didn't put too much thought into my strength training. I put a little bit of thought into my strength training, and while it still is important to do unilateral strength training, things like single leg RDLs, single leg split squats, strengthening one leg at a time, incorporating balance, stability. All great things to do for your training, but what's really going to help to prevent shin splints from occurring in the first place. Shin splints happen because you're building up your mileage and you're taking more impact, more overall impact on your legs as you're running, and as your legs fatigue, that makes it tougher to stabilize everything. As your legs fatigue, and then with the combination of taking that impact of your whole body weight, and then pushing yourself forward, when you combine the fatigue and the impact, that's when the injury occurs, right? That's where things break down too quickly before they can repair again, because your body wasn't ready for that increase in stimulus. And when you're doing your strength training, you want to implement things like something like jumping rope. You don't need an actual rope, but just a little bit of bounding, a little bit of jumping up and down, to kind of simulate single leg hopping. Because when you're running, you're single leg hopping. So do double leg stuff. Don't do too much too early, or else you'll run into shin splints, right? You got to have that good balance of strengthening and introducing yourself to the stimulus of what running's going to be like. So you start with the double leg hopping, and you just kind of incorporate this into your strength training routine. So let's say you're doing a circuit of single leg RDLs, and you're doing split squats, and then you're doing maybe just 30 seconds of the double leg jumps. Just kind of, not only is this going to help prevent shin splints, but it's also going to make you a more explosive runner. So I've noticed that, since I've been doing incorporating the plyometric training into my strength training routine, not only have I become more injury free, but I've become a more efficient runner. Because I'm training the sensory system, right? Especially if you're doing this in bare feet, you're training your sensory system and your motor system reflex kind of to implement so you have nerves that run down and they feel the ground, right? Those are they go up. The sensory nerves go up when you feel the ground, and then the motor nerves, they go down, and then they produce that action. So when you're combining the sensory and the motor integration together, it becomes like a reflex, something that you don't even have to think about. So when you're incorporating the sensory, feeling the ground, into the motor, bracing the feet, and then exploding up, and doing that plyometric stuff in bare feet, you're going to become very strong at your feet and very quick twitch. So we call those your type 2 muscle fibers are going to become more explosive. So you start with the double leg bounding, right? Just 30 seconds. Maybe you're doing 4 or 5 sets. So it's about maybe 2 minutes total of just the double leg bounding. Now you're feeling more explosive on your runs, and you're going to prevent. For me, I've been able to prevent those shin splints. The next thing would be to just go from just the double leg bounding to more of a diagonal. So you're bounding forward and then bounding backward, on a little bit of a diagonal, maybe about a foot on a 45-degree diagonal, and then a foot or 45-degree diagonal. Now you're kind of making it a little bit more dynamic, kind of introducing these different kinds of stresses on your proprioception, those sensory fibers, and then those motor fibers, kind of doing it more dynamically, kind of building up those neuron pathways, right? So that way, when you're running, you don't have to think about it too much. It's all reflexive. It's all you've trained for this, right? So your training is now translating into more efficient running. You don't have to think about it quite as much. You're more efficient, and you're ready for increasing your mileage. You're ready for that impact. Your muscles are ready for it. Your fascia is ready for it. Your nervous system's ready for it. And then number 2, slowing down your running. So, especially if you're doing a marathon build, So what I did wrong is during my Chicago marathon build, I did too much too soon. So especially if you're incorporating this plyometric training, you want to build a strong foundation first. So start your build maybe 16 weeks out. Start slowly. Do a lot of slower, controlled runs. Let's say your marathon pace is 10-minute pace, then 10-minute per mile pace. Then most of your slower effort should be around 12 or 13-minute mile pace. So 4 or 5 days a week, kind of slower efforts, and then 2 days a week, 1 or 2 days a week, you can kind of incorporate a little bit more speed, just to allow your body to acclimate to the increase in volume. So the big thing is the plyometric training. Introduce that into your strength training routine. Practice how you play, right? Strength train how you're gonna, in a way that's going to incorporate the stimulus that's going to translate into running. Once you progress from the double leg, then you can work into a little bit of single leg, but really reduce the time that you're doing that, because that's a lot of stimulus. You don't want to run into injuries, so definitely do this with a trained professional, a physical therapist that can help you to progress these plyometric activities in the right way. Also, take a look at your warm-up. Make sure you're doing some plyometric exercises in your warm-up, things like skipping, things like side shuffling, things like karaoke, the foot over, foot under, things like retro strides, like, kind of basically jogging backwards, kind of warming everything up, getting ready for that impact. And I hope this helps. If it does, leave a like, subscribe for more content like this. I'd love to hear your comments down below. Let me know what you think of this advice. Please share your own stories so we can all learn from each other. And take care. I hope to see you on the next one.